Welcome to Amore Fiori Flowers DIY Succulent Garden tutorial. In this tutorial, we walk you through the ins and outs of creating and caring for your very own succulent garden. If you've ordered our DIY Succulent Garden Kit online, we will be using all the materials here in this video that are included in your kit. You can order the kit online at amore-fiori.com. Included in your DIY Succulent Garden Kit are 2 large succulents, 3 small succulents, a large cork container, a bag of soil, and a decorative element to add to your completed garden. The first thing you're going to want to do is to remove the succulent from its current container. You can do this by squeezing on all sides to loosen the soil. You can go ahead and discard that plastic pot. We won't be using it for this DIY kit. Go ahead and squeeze the succulent to break down the roots and to remove the soil. This soil is usable, so I would recommend doing this over your pot so that we can save it for the rest of the garden. Breaking down the roots allows the succulent to be potted properly, and it also encourages new growth. You're going to want to make sure to remove any shriveled or dead leaves on the bottom of the succulent, as this will create bacteria and won't be good for your succulent garden. Place your first succulent where you think you might want it, and then go ahead and do the same thing with the remaining succulents in the DIY kit. You can place them generally where you think you might want them or where you think they'll look good, but we can always move them around later in the tutorial. The smaller succulents that came in your DIY kit may not come in a plastic pot like the larger ones did. However, we still need to break up those roots to encourage new growth. Because these are a more fragile succulent, because they are smaller, we'd recommend just giving them a gentle squeeze and then gently rolling them between your hands to still break up those roots. Once you have your succulents situated where you want them to be, you can go ahead and start adding additional soil. Depending on how much soil you are able to get out of rolling the succulents around and breaking up the roots, you may have to fill a little more or a little less than we're doing here. Place your succulents exactly where you want them and start filling in the edges with dirt. This ensures that the succulents are packed in tightly and that they won't move around. This is what's going to keep your garden looking how you planned it to look. In order to pack the soil properly and to get enough soil in the container, you may have to gently lift up on the succulent leaves. That's okay to do. You're not going to hurt the succulent. Don't be afraid to really get in there with that soil. It is important that the container is fully filled with soil because we're going to want those succulents to drink, and that soil really helps them to flourish and to grow. You do have a decorative element included in your DIY succulent kit. This part is optional depending on your style and the look you're going for, but we like to add it just because it adds a little something extra and a little more interest to the garden itself. Here we've chosen to use broken glass pieces that have a little color to them, but oftentimes we'll use colorful rocks or other dried elements to add some interest to the piece. You do want to go ahead and put this underneath the succulent leaves. Lift that succulent up and really put that glass underneath. This will help the succulent to stay nice and it'll prevent any rotting of the leaves. If the succulent leaves are touching wet soil consistently, this can rot the leaves and that won't be good for your succulent health. We do recommend keeping an open spot in the middle of your garden that maybe you can't see the brown soil, but if you stick your finger down in there, you're going to be able to tell whether or not the soil is really damp or really dry. And that'll help you gauge whether or not you need to water your succulent garden. Add your finishing touches, make sure all that brown soil is covered. Wipe away any extra dirt or anything that might have gotten on the succulents, and then you have just completed your own DIY succulent garden.